Alright, in this video we are going to talk about index strategies within a index annuity. There are a bunch of different strategies. We're going to touch on just three, and we're going to use this graph down here. This is a great measurement, good visual to on the y-axis, the volatility. This is the dispersion of returns. And on the x-axis, as you go from left to right, there's the higher potential for return on your money. So the first strategy is annual point to point. So we always start off with an anniversary date, and we'll use the S&P 500. You can use different indexes. We'll use the S&P 500. Let's say it starts off at 1,000. 1 year later, on our anniversary date, we measure what the S&P did, and let's say it went up to 1,070. So we are going from point to point. We subtract out where we started, expressed as a percentage that equals a 7% return. So do we get 7%? Well, I don't know. We have another video called option pricing. Who took my upside? And in this video we discussed the different methods, the different crediting methods insurance companies use, and the major three they use are caps, spreads, and participation rates. So for a full explanation of these methods, what an option is, how the option pricing works, go and look at this video. Okay, so on annual point to point, let's say we had a 4% cap, which in this environment is reasonable. Do we get 7? No, we wouldn't get 7, we would get 4%. So back over here, this is where annual point to point fits. It has the least interest potential overall, and you're going to see why as we fill these in. And the volatility is the lowest, and so you'll understand why, mainly because we're measuring over a period of 1 year. So as we go to our next strategy, this is monthly average. So you can assume with the word monthly in there that we are going to measure each month what the S&P did, and that's exactly what we do here. So we measure 1,030, let's say it goes up, and then it dropped a little bit at 1,020, and then it dropped down to 1,000 even again, and then it dropped down to 990, and maybe it dropped down to 980. So you get the idea here. And then on our 1 year anniversary, we measure all these 12-month S&P numbers, come up with, and I'll use an example of this, adds up to 12,658. We divide that by 12, which leaves us 1,054 and 80, and then we have to subtract where we started. So we have 5480 expressed as a percentage, 5.48%. So that would be what we are credited with, 5.48% for that year. This cap that went down here with 4% cap, did that matter? Well, generally a monthly average is going to have a higher cap than what an annual point to point is. So if an annual point to point cap is 4, you're going to see this to be around 5.5%. So we, in this case, 5.50, we would get the full 5.48%. That's why over here on our graph, that's why the monthly average has a higher interest potential. And why is it more volatile? Well, anytime you're measuring something more frequently, monthly versus annually, then you're going to have more dispersion, you're going to have more volatility. But as you can see here, the way the option pricing works, you're going to have a higher cap. Now you're often going to see that the monthly average uses a spread or a participation rate, but again, go to this other video and you'll understand why and how all that stuff works. Okay, so our next strategy is monthly sum. And again, as you can imagine, we're going to be measuring something on a monthly basis. Now, I need to test my artistic ability here. Let me draw a straight line. Okay, that wasn't bad. And I need another color here. Okay, that's pretty good. So, what we do is, with monthly average, we were just measuring what the S&P was doing at the end of each month. Monthly sum, what we're doing is we're measuring how the S&P performed in a month, not just what it ended at. So we're measuring the percentage performance, and this red line represents a monthly cap, and let's say it's a 2% cap. So the very first month, let's say the S&P goes up 3. Do we get 3? Nope, we would get 2 because of that monthly cap. And then over here, we're going to measure everything at the end of the year. We're going to add it all up. So we're going to put a 2 in this column. The next month, the market is up, the S&P is up 1. Do we get 1? Yep, 1 is less than 2. It's underneath the cap, so we're going to get the full 1. The next month, the market's up 4. Do we get 4? Nope, we get 2. The next month, it's 0.5. Yep, we get the 0.5. The next month, we're down 1.5. We're negative. There is no cap on the downside. We have to add all the negatives and positives. So next month, the market's down 2.5. We got to put that in there. So there is no cap on the downside, only on the upside. So at the end of 1 year, we add all of these numbers, all the positives and negatives together, and let's say it comes out to 6.88%. That is what you are credited with for that particular year, 6.88%. These caps, the annual point to point and the monthly average cap, they were measuring at the end of the 1 year anniversary. Here, the cap is each and every month. That's when we go down to our graph here. And just so you know, monthly sum is also known as monthly point to point. So monthly point to point. Again, the volatility is higher, monthly point to point. It's higher because we're not only measuring each month, but we have a wider dispersion. We have all these downside potential. So this is a wider dispersion here. And then the interest potential, why is it higher? Well, and I've heard people unfortunately say this, but if you have a monthly point to point monthly sum cap of 2%, they say, well, 2% times 12, the market goes up 2% each year, you could get a 24% return in 1 year. Well, I guess you could do that, but I don't know how realistic that is. So which one do I use? Well, I don't know how your crystal ball is doing. Mine's a bit foggy. I don't know which one. You can see in history how each one of these have performed better than the others. It depends on the market. We can't predict. If you could predict, I'm sure you wouldn't even be watching this video. You'd be on the beach somewhere, sipping on a pina colada, looking at your yacht. And so we're all in this together. We don't know which one, but the good news is that you can switch on each anniversary date. You can switch from one strategy to the other, and you can mix and match. You can use 50% annual point to point, 50% monthly sum, monthly point to point if you want to. So you can mix and match, move it around. The point of this video is I wanted you to understand the major strategies, and remember, go to option pricing to understand how the pricing of an option works inside Index Annuity and the methods, the difference between a cap, a spread, and a participation rate. Okay, thanks for watching.